The present pandemic has affected a number of industries, none more so than aviation and tourism. TravelSafe Systems has developed an integrated, holistic system to test for COVID-19 that can give two industries the much-needed assurance that travel can be safe again. Today, I am interviewing three members of TravelSafe Systems. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Nick Lamb, you are the joint CEO. Briefly, what is the history of the company and how does the system work?
The very short story on the company is that Nigel, David and myself have known each other for many years in different strands of business. And at the start of the pandemic, Nigel and I spoke and we realized that we'd got two complementary technologies that could come together to achieve something that so far many governments and agencies have discussed, but nobody's actually been able to get together, which is namely a rapid, effective, accurate testing system for COVID-19 and blending that with a technology platform which can carry the results of those tests in a secure, private manner for the individual traveler.
Your material refers to green zones. Tell me, what is a green zone and how does it work?
A green zone is a concept that we're familiar with from our military experience, but a green zone is effectively an area that is completely safe. And we've taken that idea forward to the traveling environment for the COVID-19 testing to show that not only are the passengers tested to be COVID-free in a particular area, but also all other personnel, people that they may come in contact with, such as ground crew, air crew, or people in the airport environment. So what it means is that once you go through that threshold and into the green zone, you are very, very highly confident that there is no one there who can cause an infection.
Now, I'm sure we're all aware that cost is always an important factor. What is the commercial model for you?
We've worked very hard with all the different components of the company coming together with something that is, we think, a really competitive model. And we can now say that we can, at the highest price we will ever charge, we will be below the €40 per test marker.
Thank you, Nick. I'd like to speak now to Nigel. Nigel Trim, as the other joint CEO and Chief Scientific Officer, can you tell us what is meant by the acronym LAMP?
Sure. So the acronym LAMP stands for Loop Mediated Isothermal Amplification, which is a bit of a mouthful, but it refers to the fact that we are actually looking at the virus's genetic material and then we're amplifying that to a point that we can detect it. Now, the benefit of LAMP is that it's a very robust system. It was produced about 20 years ago in Japan, and it's been used really in the research industry prior to this. We use it in the lab here for detecting some pathogens, but now we've expanded that into testing for COVID. So it's a very simple, robust procedure and very, very highly accurate and specific.
How does it actually work?
So what we do is we take a sample from a subject, from a traveler, and that would be a simple swab, as many other tests. And we break open in a tube the actual viral capsid and take out the genetic material, the RNA. And we have a very simple extraction method and amplification, whereby we just incubate this with some things called primers that latch on specifically to some of the genes. And we incubate that for maybe 30 minutes, and then we can detect whether there is viral RNA in the sample or not. So it's a very simple binary outcome. We detect virus or we don't. So we can be very specific about whether a traveler is infected and is likely to infect others, or indeed whether they're clear and can enter a green zone.
This sounds very interesting, but has it actually been trialed?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the LAMP technology is quite old now, a couple of decades old. We've used it for a variety of other pathogens. We use it in Legionella and in other testing industries. We're now testing and we're coming to the end of clinical trials. We're very pleased with the outcome so far, and those results will be made available in the next week or so. We've tested it with surface testing and found very, very good results. So we're quite confident that this is the right solution.
Nigel, that sounds excellent. If I may move on to David. David Pryor, you are the Chief Technical Officer. The LAMP system will be integrated into the iWarrant application. Could you tell me what this application is?
At a very high level, almost as a soundbite, iWarrant is a secure mobile credential that's linked to a privacy-first, user-centric identity, which is almost as much of a mouthful as the expansion of the LAMP acronym. However, what we mean by that is, if you think about a digital boarding pass that would go on your phone, it's very, very similar, only instead of containing your flight details, it provides a visual and machine-readable representation of your COVID-19 status. It's clear, it's immutable, it's easy to read, and it guarantees that you have the result that came out of the testing equipment.
There's actually a great deal of concern about personal data. Does your system actually store people's data?
We do not store any personal data in the back-end system that we use to process the results. We need to have a reference to each instance of our iWarrant app, and that reference is an abstract identity. It's essentially a string of numbers and letters that bears no relation to a human being, and it really represents the instance of the application on your mobile phone. That data, any personal data that's held on the mobile phone, is stored in an encrypted manner and is entirely up to the user of that device as to how and when they share their personal information. In terms of what we take in on the back end, we have an identifier, which is associated to the instance of the application. We have an identifier for the test, which is taken at the point of test. And then when the test results come back in from the testing equipment, we simply match the two test references and then send a message out to the user. The certificate is then generated on the user's mobile device, and it's theirs to show to whomever they wish in order to prove their COVID-free status.
So the iWarrant provides absolute 100% protection?
There is no such thing as absolute 100% protection in computer services. However, we encrypt our data at rest, we encrypt our data at transit. Any personally identifiable information is solely held on the user's mobile phone. As I said before, we use abstract references, so we have no means of identifying any specific individual using our services. The furthest that we can localize you to is to any specific flight, and even then, supplying us with your flight details is a voluntary action that a traveler would undertake in order to receive post-travel notifications that they have been placed at risk.
Thank you, David. And thank you, gentlemen. This was very interesting and very positive sounding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.